Hello, I'm Haruku. I work as a freelance engineer and recently I started my own company. Because of that, I started to think about this question. What is a good web framework in the AI era? I started programming with Ruby. After that, I used TypeScript, Next.js, Next.js, Go, and Rust for my side project. But in the end, I found that Ruby and Ruby on Rails fit my case the best. And even 2026, when AI coding is becoming stronger, my answer is still the same. Today, I want to explain why I decided to keep using Ruby on Rails in the AI era. Also, I plan to use Rails for all future businesses in my company. So please understand this as one opinion from a person who really likes Rails. First, Rails has a strong philosophy. Many people know the word convention over configuration. This means Rails decides many things before you start. When you start a new project, Rails already has many rules. Developers just follow those rules. For example, if you want to make a new model connected to a database, you can type a command in the terminal. Rails will create the table, the model files, and the test files. When I first learned programming with Rails, I did not feel very surprised by this. But later, when I used Next.js and Next.js, I was shocked. I learned that was not normal. In many other frameworks, you need to choose the ORM by yourself. You need to choose the test library by yourself. You also need to decide the file structure by yourself. The worst part is that there is no clear answer for architecture. For example, where should you put the user model file? In Rails, the answer is simple. It goes in app/model/user.rb. But in TypeScript, Go, or Rust, where do you put it? Do you just make your favorite place? When you have to make hundreds of small decisions like this, even reading code becomes stressful. Then you may start a long journey to find good architecture. You may think about clean architecture or onion architecture for a long time. I did that before too. But this time does not make money. Rails is sometimes criticized because it is not very flexible. Some people say it does not fit special cases, but if you are not building a very large system from the start, this is usually not a big problem. DHH, the creator of Rails, says the most web development is CRUD. CRUD means create, read, update, and delete data. For that kind of web development, Rails is very strong, and this is very good with AI coding. For example, AI may write HTTP request logic inside the user model. AI often does things like this. Maybe the code works, but it's not good design. A model should handle database data and relationships. It should not send HTTP requests. But code includes both humans and AI cannot maintain the code well, and AI does not take any responsibility for the code it writes. That is why Ruby on Rails is strong in the AI era. It has a strong philosophy. Second, Rails is good for small team. Some people say GitHub and Shopify use Rails, so Rails is good. That is true. But I think Rails is even stronger for small teams. For example, 1 person to 5 people. DHH, who is the creator of Ruby on Rails, wrote a book about small teams doing big work. The idea is this. You do not always need a lot of money from VCs. You do not always need to hire any people. A small team can still make good profit. This idea influenced my life very much, and I think this idea fits the AI era very well. After LLMs became popular, people started to say that one-person unicorn companies may appear. I think engineering team will become smaller. The important thing will be this. How fast can you build products? How many products can you launch? How fast can you find product market fit? In other words, this is the age of small teams launching many products. Rails was made for DHH for himself. Rails is a framework for launching fast, adding features fast, getting feedback from the market, and improving fast. The Rails scaffold command is a good example. I started my company about 3 months ago. I only had about 2 free days each week, but I was able to build a product in about 10 days of work. I think I can release it next week. This was possible because Rails has strong conventions and a strong community. If I use Next.js, I think it would not be so easy. Maybe I would have to fight with server components and cache. For a small team using AI and moving fast, Rails is one of the best frameworks. And as we can see from big companies, Rails can also scale when used well. Rails has more than 20 years of history. Ruby on Rails was released in July 2004, so it already has more than 20 years of history. As you know, AI needs good training data to give good answers. The amount and quality of data are very important. I understand the feeling of wanting to use modern technology because I am also an engineer. But if your goal is to make a business work, I think you should be careful. New technology can include the chance of failure. Have you ever reviewed AI code and said this? That is for the old version. The new version is different. This happens often, but Rails has been used for more than 20 years with very consistent rules. So AI usually does not create very strange Rails code. This high trust is one reason why I love Ruby. Rails is simple and easy to understand. Please look at recent release notice from famous frameworks. Server components were added, but you were the ones making HTML only the client side. Caching is easier right now. Why I do have to think about the cache in addition to tomorrow's dinner. We fixed a security issue. Oh no, maybe my company server was used for Bitcoin mining. This rendering features only works on a specific platform. That sounds like a fight against open source culture. Honestly, I think many people are tired of recent web trends. If you are tired too, please come to the Ruby and Rails community. It's quiet here. For people who do not know recent Rails, here are some updates. Hotwire is now the default choice. With Hotwire, you can build UI like an SPA without writing much JavaScript. Hotwire Native lets you build iOS and Android apps with Rails and WebView technology. Camel makes development easier. If you have your own server like a VPS, you can deploy in a few steps. It can also be cheaper than AWS or GCP. SQLite support and the solid stack are also improving. Rails is becoming closer to a system that can run without many outside services like Postgres and Redis. These changes have one clear idea: less is more. Rails has a long history, but it is still becoming simpler and smarter. That is why I really love Ruby on Rails. Now I want to answer some common criticism of Rails. Ruby is not a static language. It is hard without type compilation. My answer is this. Static language or dynamic language does not change the value you give to users. Of course, both have good points and bad points, but I think Ruby's flexibility supports the Rails culture of omakase. In other words, Rails says, leave it to me. About type compilation, I do not think it's a big problem. Ruby LSP is already useful. Also, today we have GitHub Copilot. If your goal is to start a new business, I do not think this is a serious problem. Ruby code easily becomes dirty. This is true for every language. A weak engineer can write dirty code in Ruby. They can also write dirty code in TypeScript, Go, or Rust. Maybe people say this is about Ruby because Ruby is easy for beginners. But instead of blaming the language, we should think about other things. How can we write readable code? How can we design the database well? How can we name variables clearly? Maybe the real problem is not Ruby. Maybe the real problem is complex and unclear business requirements. Ruby is not popular recently. I cannot argue strongly against this. If your goal is to learn a programming language and get a higher salary, TypeScript is best. I hope Ruby will be valued again because from a business point of view, Ruby and Rails are great. Ruby performance is too slow. My answer is this. Do you want to drive an F1 car to the nearest supermarket? For me, a small used car is enough. Twitter left Rails and then it became Elon Musk's toy. I love Rails. I want to succeed in business with Rails. And I want to launch many products as fast as possible. That's all. Have a good development life. Bye.